Hello and welcome to my channel From Scratch. A few months ago I did a couple of videos about masking fluid. One quite long video, it was more than half an hour, where I tested 10 different masking fluids live on film, so I applied it and removed it afterwards. And then a shorter video in which I just rated them all. So I'm going to put the links to these videos in the box below. If you haven't watched them, it might be a good idea to watch them to see which one you think would suit you best, because they all perform differently, and depending what you want to do with them or what you like to work with, you might prefer one or the other. Now in this video I'm going to apply the testing and the techniques of masking fluid to a real painting. But because this is an open rose, you can see the stamen, and because the anthers are bright yellow and the filaments are quite bright crimson, I decided to mask the center of the flower in order to keep these colors fresh. So I'm going to show you how I go about this. Now the masking fluid I've chosen for this is the Schminker. I quite like it because it's fluid, it's rather fluid, so I can do fine lines with it. It washes off the brush quite easily, and also it's bright blue, which means that I know exactly where I've put it, so I don't get lost. So I'm holding the little bottle in my hand because my work surface is slanted, so if I put it on the work surface it's gonna spill everywhere. Not too good. I'm using a number 0 brush. It's not a very expensive brush. It's a Da Vinci Nova Synthetic. I like to paint with these as well, but they're quite stiff, so they are quite good to apply masking fluid as well. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint all the anthers with the masking fluid, and you can see it's with a number 0 brush, it allows for quite a lot of details. Okay, so it's all done. You can see the masking fluid very well because it's blue. So, and you can see because it's shiny, very shiny in some places, that's because it's still wet. So now I'm gonna go and have lunch, and I'll come back after lunch, make sure by tapping it that it's completely dry, and then I can start painting. I'm just gonna wash my brush with a bit of soapy water, and if you do it straight away and you don't let the masking fluid dry on the brush for too long, that shouldn't be a problem. The brush shouldn't be too damaged, but don't use your most expensive brush to do this. Use an old one or something that wasn't too expensive. You still need a good point though, so you can't use any scruffy old thing. Okay, see you later for the removal. So I've used masking fluid for the stamen, so this is why this is blue here. At the end all the stamen will be crimson and yellow. I have been removing the masking fluid in sections, so I only remove the masking fluid when all the painting is done underneath, on the petals where they are behind the stamen. So I've removed that section and then painted that, then removed that section, painted that, and I'm going to show you how to remove it. So I'm using a Staedtler eraser, which is a PVC-free eraser, and I'm very gently rubbing off. It's a fine balance between rubbing too hard and damaging the paper and also the paint that's already there, because I have painted in between the stamen, so I don't want to remove that paint. Some of it is quite dark. But also you need to rub hard enough that the masking fluid comes off completely. You don't want any trace of it left on there. And you can also roll it with your fingers, but I'm a little bit more worried about doing that because we all have oil in our skin and I don't want any of that oil to transfer to the paper, so I think that the eraser is safer. Timing wise, you want to do this ideally the day after you've painted the washes. If you do this too soon, then the paper will still be wet in its core, and it will get damaged. It will start fluffing up and some fibers will be damaged and disturbed and lifted, and then you get a furry paper, which is never good. But if you wait too long, then the masking fluid goes into the fiber of the paper, and then when you remove it, you tear the paper with it as well. We're now ready to paint the stamens. It's all clean. There's no masking fluid left at all. So I'm starting with the anthers, which are the blobby bits at the top of the stamen. So I'm going to start with a little bit of shadow in between and on one side of the anthers, so they get a little bit more definition, they get a little bit more separated, and also they get a bit more 3D. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 together and they're a bit hard. It's a bit hard to know which one's which. And it's okay, you know, sometimes you look at the rows and it is a little bit confusing because they're all amalgamated together. I'm also adding some shadows in between the stem or on the side of the stems themselves. And doing this also helps me to map my stamen as well and make sure I know what's going on, because sometimes when a few anthers or filaments are close together, you get a massive blob of masking fluid and it's a bit hard to know what's what. So once you've put the shadows in, you'll be a bit clearer as to where everything is. Now I've done the shadows, I'm waiting for them to dry, and then I'm going to go in with the yellow on the anthers. So I'm doing the yellow first, because most anthers are in front of the filaments and not the other way around. So I want to make sure that I don't go over the yellow with the crimson of the filaments. I did not paint the shadows wet in wet on this because the anthers are quite powdery, so I don't need my washes to be particularly soft. Now the yellow is done, I am ready for the permanent alizarin crimson. Again, not wet in wet, I'm going dry. Some goes over the white bit left by the masking fluid, and some goes over the shadows for the ones in the back that are darker. I'm working dry because I need the definition here more than I need softness, really. I also need quite a lot of variation in the red, so it's not an even red. Some is lighter, some is darker. Sometimes you get a hint of a highlight on there. I'm working with a size 1 brush, This one is the Pro Arte ProLine Plus Series 007, which has pretty much been my go-to brush for the past few years. It's got a good point and it's not too soft, so it's very precise. I find that brushes that are too soft don't give me the precision that I need. I quite like brushes to be a little bit stiffer. Okay, I think you've got the idea. So now you can see that this is a lot darker than this. I need to go back with a second wash once this is dried. That's my permanent alizarin crimson stone. And I'm also going to go in with Perry Lane Violet when I want more shadows. So, about an hour later, this is what it looks like. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or any tips about using masking fluid, please leave some comments in the box below. I will answer everything I can. And I'll see you in my next video on Florist Patch. Thank you, bye!